will not be bound by eating. I will not kill myself by what I put in my mouth. This is an appetizer, not my message, but look at your neighbor and say, could God be talking to you? Your mouth is killing you. This time it's not what's coming out, it's what you keep sticking in there. Did not the Lord say 30 days? Genesis fast. We're at the genesis of the year, the beginning of the year, the origin. And what we do in the first decides what will happen the rest of the year. If our appetite is out of control in the first part of the year, the rest of the year our appetite will be out of control. First fruit, our body. The first fruit God wants is you. The guilty, put your hand on yourself. The innocent, wave your hand. That's okay. I check to see if you're listening. First fruit. If you cannot control what goes in your mouth, how do you tell the crackhead they can get off of crack? And you can't give up a certain type of food. Is there hope for the lost if there's no hope for the saints? What happens if God tells you to fast and drink just water? What happens if God mess around? Oh, God forbid, blood of Jesus. Let me qualify it before I finish the thought. What happens if God put my life in your hands and I was comatose and he said, everybody fast and she'll live? That's why I said, God forbid. Some of you will be eating before the prophecy leaves the lips. She just gone. I hope Pastor Vern had a good life. Everybody standing over me with a chicken bone. Well, Lord, you know I was going to, but my mama, and she came by here with that Popeye's chicken. If God can't trust you with carnal things, food is carnal. Without being graphic, we have a nurse here. You put it in one end and poop it out the other. Isn't that right, Pat? So, I mean, there's no value in that. So how can he trust you with $1 million baby? Or how can he trust you with the sheep, his children, your brother, your sister? Why would God trust a rare heirloom to your hands? Why would God trust a priceless person that he cannot replace? Each and every one of us have a different fingerprint. Not one the same, even with identical twins. And if God can't trust you to eat what he said, how can he trust you with true riches? Ministry. Why would he put a church in your hands? Why would he put children in your hands? Why would he put a husband or a wife in your hands? If he asks something simple like limit what you eat, not skip eating, just limit it. For 30 days, the number of warfare. 30, the number of maturity. Limit it. Just the first month. Give me the first of your appetite. Because our carnal appetite is what got us in trouble in Genesis. In the beginning, Eve, out of all the trees, all the food she could have eaten, she wanted to eat the food that God said not to. Now look straight ahead so your neighbor don't try to fight in the pew. Out of all the things it could have eaten, God didn't say, don't eat Adam, don't eat Eve, just don't eat from this tree. Restrict your diet. I have mapped it out so that you won't have any diseases. You'll live forever and be in good health. And just because you love me and I'm your God, eat what I told you. Now you have a wide variety of choices. Genesis fast, Genesis diet. If it grows from the ground, you can eat it. Herbs, fruits, vegetables, wide variety of choices, spices. Just don't eat the lard. You don't grow lard. Don't eat the cow. He didn't grow up out of the ground. Don't eat the pig. He didn't come out of the ground. He wallows in the ground and eats worms and mud, but he didn't grow out of the ground. And he asked, not for the rest of your life, just give me the first of your year. Can I have first fruit? The fruit of my hands. I made man. Let's go to that in Genesis. And we're going to read it and go through it. Let's go to Genesis. When God makes man, and he tells him, puts him in the garden, and he says, eat of everything. Find that for me, Elder. Eat of everything, but just don't eat of this tree. When he gives the command, the guideline for the dietary eating habits. I made a man. I made a woman. I gave you a helpmeet. You were having such a good time with me, Adam, you didn't even know you were by yourself. Can you be Adam a minute, Larry? First man, Adam, in the Bible, Genesis. Adam's walking with God. I get to be God for a minute. Yeah, you mean? He's walking and communing with God. His prayer life is great because God is talking to him and he's talking to God. So it's the perfect prayer life. So the first fruit God wanted is perfect communion. When it was just you and I. And we were in paradise. It wasn't paradise because it was a garden. It was paradise because you and I were walking together. It was paradise because you were telling me what you were thinking. I was telling you what I was thinking. I was finishing your thoughts. You were enjoying my thoughts. We were always together every day. So I enjoyed the fruit of my hand. I made you. And you and I had such a good time together. I had to remind you, it's not good for you to be by yourself. Can you imagine Adam's expression? I'm by myself, God? He didn't know. He didn't tell God I need a mate. Seemed like something missing in my life. He was complete. The veterinarians will love this, and the pet lovers love this. They weren't allowed to eat the pets. They didn't eat the animals. Some of you that have that sick joke about Chinese restaurants, I don't want to go there, they may be cooking the dogs. That's a good time to just not eat the Chinese food. They showed it on Biggest Loser, how many calories in the Chinese food. They didn't eat the pets. God gave them everything they needed. A vegan. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just talking about self-discipline. Going back to Genesis, going back to the beginning, going back to the origin of self-control. Going back to the purpose, the reason God made you. He made you not for you to kill yourself. And he knew if I don't do something about this carnal appetite, eventually the second man, Adam, will have to come and die on the cross because the first man, Adam, has now limited their days when they could have lived forever. And they could have had perfect communion. Now I've got to send an intercessor to take on flesh. Because it was just he and I. So should I regret giving you help for you? Adam, I know you weren't lonely, but it's not good for you to be alone. I'm enjoying you, but I want you to have somebody that's like you, but costs you a fee. One for the ladies. A female. I want you to have a man with a womb. So you're biologically different. I heard the yarn, but that's good. If you're broke, get a job, get some money, sell something, sell clothes, dig ditches, get some money before you get a wife. God made sure Adam was working. He worked in the garden. Women are responsible for changing the order. We're still in the order series. Divine order. The divine order was he told Adam to till the garden. He gave the man a job before he gave him a wife. Now in this world where we would rather follow the trends of the world and do everything that they're doing, women will take care of the man when that was never God's order. He meant for them to work, so I blame the females because now they're making the male a female. Men, you should be upset because she's really calling you a woman. You better give that wound back. Get a job and say, no, I was meant to work. You're not taking care of me. I mean it. Because I see what you're trying to call me. You're trying to call me a girl. I don't have an identity crisis. Come on, men. If the function fits, the title is correct. If you're functioning like a female and you're getting the fee, then I don't know what you did. Maybe you had a hysterectomy, but you still a. They're walking. I'm not talking about unemployed, looking for a job, couldn't get a job, look for a lot of jobs. A lot of people are laid off. I'm talking about those that are home content, that want to be a stay-at-home man, a homemaker, a housekeeper. They're sending you a hint. They're getting ready to go on the down low. I want to deliver some women. They're sending you a hint. They don't like their origin. They don't like their genesis. They don't like what God made them. So they're starting with the first change. You better see what's going on and do something about it. Oprah Winfrey asked the lady that wrote How Stella Got Her Groove On, the movie, you couldn't tell there was something wrong with that guy when you were first dating him? You brought him from Jamaica. He was young. He didn't have any money. You had all the money. You talking about he's so good in bed and all he did was hang around the house. You tell me you didn't notice anything? She said, no, I really didn't. She said, I don't think that just showed up. The guy said, I really wasn't into that then. He said, she said, oh, yeah. You really were. You didn't just get married and 6 years later you coming out. You were looking for a sugar mama. / so I can be on the down low. That delivers some sugar mamas. God never intended for it to go that way. Anytime we change the divine order, we corrupt the church. We corrupt the structure that God put in place to the divine government of God. Okay, Adam, you need a helpmeet. I need to put you to sleep so I can take one of your ribs. I got to take a part of you so you realize anytime you do harm, you're harming a part of you. So later on it matches. It's a type of Christ in the church. So if you harm the bride, you're harming yourself because she's a part of you. You have one less rib because of the sacrifice you made. So even God required a sacrifice for you to have a helpmeet. Man had to give something. The order of God is everything has to cost you something. I'm going to give you a helpmeet, but I need to put you to sleep and I need to get something from you. We've changed the order in church. We're looking for something from God, but we don't want to give him anything. Lord, give me a word, but you don't plan to give a dime. Lord, give me a word, but you don't plan to pay tithe. Lord, put me in business, but you won't give him anything from your business. Lord, bless my children. Then God blesses your children, and you spend all of God's money on the children. The tithe and the offering, the first fruit. The order is wrong. It has to cost you something, Adam. Give me that rib. Well, God, it was your idea. It was a loan, but yeah, it still has to cost you something. He takes his rib, thank you. He makes him a woman, a wife. Everybody see Cynthia standing next to her? Yeah, she's there. I see her in the spirit realm. Tell her she was here in church today, right next to you. He gave her, put her right next to him. Okay, now you and Cynthia, come here. Does everybody see Cynthia next to him, his wife? That's her name. Everybody wave to Cynthia. Take the DVD home to her. Okay. Cynthia gets this wonderful idea. She goes over to the very tree, carnal appetite. And she says, Larry, this tastes good. I ate some, have some. Larry immediately took a bite because, of course, sin offered it. You call her Sin or Cynthia? Cynthia. Cynthia offered. So he took a bite. Immediately God said, now what I gave you has become more important to you than me. And what I gave you caused you to change the order, to ignore my command. I told you, eat from everything else. But you don't know the cost of not suppressing your carnal appetite. Now, my son, who has to come later on, this is a figure, a shadow of things to come. When Christ comes on the scene, now he's got to go through a temptation in the wilderness, and his first test has to be a test of food.